Welcome back to 8-Minute Metagame. I'm your host, JW Krewall. Let's take a look at what happened in the Pokemon trading card game this week. Welcome back to 8-Minute Metagame, guys. If you are anything like me, you've been scouring the internet looking for results and seeing what has been doing well in many of the online tournaments in preparation for the Players' Cup 2 that's coming up tomorrow, September 28th, lasting until the end of October. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about, but let's start the timer. So the first event that I want to cover is the Hexter Top Deck number 13. 152 players here in this. You'll see the results of that here on the screen. This is the top 32 players from that event. A few things we can take away from this event. First of all, Eternatus, absolutely dominant once again, as it has been over the weeks. We had 8 in the top 32 for this tournament. You see it. Didn't quite get into that, top 4, top 2 winner slot, but we saw 1 in top 8, and then it just smattered the rest of, top 32. So absolutely Eternatus, a deck that really just hasn't gone anywhere. It's kind of proven itself week after week. We see the biggest interest here is Lucario Melmetal. Now, Lucario Melmetal has always been one of those decks just a little bit on the fringe. It certainly has some good matchups, certainly has some bad matchups, and it has a play style that's way different than many of the other top decks. It doesn't aim to hit you as hard as possible, but it does aim to control the board state to a point that you can no longer win the game via the energy removal and damage reduction of, the tools that it has and the attacks that it has. So Lucario Melmetal winning the Hexter Top Deck number 13, and also placing very well across the board, getting 2 more top 8 positions at 5th and 8th, and then having a bunch in the top 32. There were 6 total Lucario Melmetals. Certainly a deck to watch out for, taking good matchups to things like Eternatus, taking a pretty decent matchup to Decidueye, and even being able to beat some of its rougher matchups like Centiskorch and Blacephalon. Doesn't happen all the time, but it is a deck to watch out for, as it does have a little bit of matchup coverage against the top decks, while also being able to squeak out wins against some of its tougher matchups. One other thing of note here from the Hexter tournament, Decidueye Goons doing pretty well, having generally low representation for this meta, but performing well. It got second place here and also got a top 32. So 2 placements in the top 32, and probably not a ton of people playing it. So Decidueye Goons, absolutely a good call for the Players' Cup. A good meta for Blounds. We see a couple in the top 32 as well. So that was a deck that started off the format. We saw, a significant amount as people were discovering how the format was going to look. Then it kind of dipped back off with, the rise, I guess, of ADPZ. It takes a pretty rough matchup to ADPZ, or a mostly unfavorable matchup to ADPZ. Now we're seeing it coming back. It's on the upswing for sure. And a couple of Blounds again here making top 32, but this was a great meta for Blounds. Like, you want to see these big basic decks that, or even VMAX decks that really don't take prizes too quickly. I mean, if you're facing an Eternatus, you have a ton of time to get to those, 7 energy in hand that you need to one-shot an Eternatus. So overall, this metagame, really good for Blounds. The next tournament that we have is the Atlas DAA Mini 4. These are a set of tournaments that are played over multiple days and is a little bit friendlier to an international audience. We see here winning the tournament is Decidueye Goons. I was just talking about that from the Hexter results, but Decidueye Goons, again, decent play. I mean, it has some funky things, and certainly decks can tech for Decidueye Goons probably easier than they can for just about any other deck. But the fact that it is consistently performing well and taking up these top slots is really encouraging if you're a Decidueye Goons player and looking to play that for the Players' Cup. We also see here that there are a bunch of Eternatus. There are 7 Eternatus in top 16. 7! That's almost half of the field from top 16 being Eternatus. So easily the most played deck amongst the decks that did well. Also see in second place here for amount in top 16 is ADPZ. Just again, a very consistent performance, but not anything stellar. You would think with how dominant ADPZ can be that it maybe has or would have more results across tournaments, but we just haven't seen that. At least recently, it's really been kind of an Eternitist-based metagame with a significant amount of ADPZ thrown in, but mostly dominated by Eternatus. Now, this next tournament that we'll get to flips that a little bit. I'll talk about that in just a second. But absolutely, what you can take away from this Atlas Mini 4 is just that Decidueye Goons, great play. We also, again, see Lucario Melmetal show up here, getting second place, so can hang. And the Eternatus decks completely wiping the floor with much of the competition. Our final tournament that we will be covering is the HyperLux 2K Pokemon Trading Card Game Online tournament. This is an event that was held over the weekend that awarded $2,000 in prize support, which is absolutely insane considering there were only 36 players that attended the event. It has a lot of strong United States-based players in the top 16, and notably John Ang, Michael Pramawat, Isaiah Bradner, all in the top 16 here, and also Stefan Ivanov performing extremely well in the 2K tournament. ADP was very dominant in this tournament. Why is that? You see a lot of players default towards that archetype, maybe not as a backup plan, but as, you know, just being the best deck in the format, having ways to beat every single matchup. Very cool tournament here. I hope to play in one of these in the future. Keep your eyes out because a 2K prize pool is absolutely insane. But you would expect, again, this tournament, the overall quality, we're seeing a lot of great players here in the top 16. Overall, I think the results show a few things. One of them, Eternatus is not going anywhere. Eternatus has been one of the best decks, if not, you know, the most represented decks of the last, I would say, 3 weeks in terms of what I've been doing on these metagame reviews. It's been consistent, hits for a lot of damage, and does what it wants to do most games. We have Lucario Melmetal, another deck that relies on discarding energy, and I think we've seen that trend also increase with the amounts of Crushing Hammer going into a lot more decks, being featured prominently in Pikarom, which actually just today won the Neopie Open, and also, again, being featured in Lucario Melmetal, while also sneaking into some Eternatus lists and some ADPZ lists. So be on the lookout for Crushing Hammer. I think Crushing Hammer, overall, there's some sourness towards Crushing Hammer, but I think what Crushing Hammer does, it's almost like a necessary evil for this format because Crushing Hammer allows slower decks to compete in a very, very fast metagame. So as much as I dislike getting Crushing Hammer used against me, I think it almost feels like a necessary evil compared to how fast the rest of the format is. The last conclusion that we have is that Decidueye Goons is a very strong play. I would absolutely recommend this deck to anyone looking to play it if you know what you're doing. It absolutely has the results to back it up. So that was the 8-minute metagame, guys. Please let me know down below in the comments what you thought. And remember, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed this content, and make sure you subscribe as well to get more content like this in the future. I'm going to let a few of these lists roll in the end credits here, just so you guys can see what has been doing well in online tournaments. If you're not already, please make sure to subscribe to me at twitch.tv/FlexDaddyRighteous. Best of luck, trainers, this week. I know it is going to be a very fun-filled week of competitive Pokemon with the Players Cup 2 starting up and with Full Grip's online tournament series again coming back this Tuesday. I know you'll have a great time. That's all for me today. Remember, guys, good luck and also have fun.